This is HOA consequences. And yes, she tried to print the accusation on the spot. You are not special. You are just next. That was the first thing Tracy Benson said to me when she shoved a clipboard in my face and screamed that I needed to confess before management got involved. I was standing on the clubhouse exterior walkway in Willow Bend, Fort Worth, Texas, holding my gym bag and a work invoice, just trying to get to my truck after a 12-hour HVAC service run. The clubhouse closet behind her was hanging open, the metal door swinging slightly in the late afternoon breeze. She jabbed her finger at the gap like it was a crime scene. "I am authorized to enforce this," she said, her voice climbing an octave. "The closet was unlocked this morning. You were seen near it yesterday. You are going to tell me what you took, or I am filing an incident report with the office right now." "I did not take anything," I said. "I dropped my daughter off at the pool yesterday. I did not even walk past the closet." Tracy pulled a pen from behind her ear and tapped it against the clipboard. She had a loud whistle on a cheap lanyard around her neck, the kind lifeguards wear, and it bounced against her chest as she leaned in. "That is not what I heard," she said. "I have witnesses. I have a timeline. And I have this." She flipped the clipboard around for half a second, just long enough for me to see a printed sheet with my name at the top and a list of bullet points underneath. No readable text, but the layout was unmistakable. A complaint form. A formal accusation. She yanked it back before I could read a word. "You are going to sign an acknowledgement," she said, "or I am escalating this to management today, and you will lose clubhouse access. Your fob will be suspended." "Do you understand what that means?" "I need to see what you are accusing me of," I said. "Your timeline is irrelevant," Tracy snapped. That line would come back to haunt her, but I did not know it yet. Right then, all I knew was that I was being accused of theft in front of a growing audience. 2 women had stopped near the mailbox cluster to watch. A guy walking his dog had slowed down on the sidewalk. Tracy noticed them and raised her voice even louder. "This is a community safety issue," she announced, turning slightly so her voice carried. "We have had multiple incidents of missing supplies. Forms, keys, equipment. And this morning, the clubhouse closet was found unlocked. The architectural committee takes theft very seriously. I am on the architectural committee," Tracy added, as if I had forgotten. "I am authorized to enforce this." She said it again. "I am authorized to enforce this." It would become her mantra over the next few weeks, a phrase she repeated every time someone questioned her authority. But in that moment, standing on the walkway with my gym bag digging into my shoulder and my work boots still covered in attic dust, all I could think was that I was being set up. "I work for a living," I said quietly. "I fix air conditioners. I do not have time to steal your clipboards." Tracy smiled, but it did not reach her eyes. "Then you will have no problem clearing this up with management," she said. "I have already sent them a preliminary report. They are expecting you." She turned and walked back toward the office, the whistle bouncing against her jacket. I stood there for a moment, watching her go, my heart pounding in my chest. The 2 women by the mailbox were still staring. The dog walker had moved on, but I could feel the weight of their judgment like a physical thing. I need to explain something about Willow Bend. The neighborhood is a planned community with about 300 homes, a central clubhouse, a pool, and a series of walking trails that loop through artificial ponds and landscaped medians. The HOA is technically called the Willow Bend Neighborhood Association, and it runs on a mix of volunteer board members and a paid management company that handles the day-to-day enforcement. Tracy Benson is the architectural committee member, which means she is supposed to approve paint colors and fence styles, not conduct theft investigations. But somewhere along the line, she had decided that her role extended to policing the entire community, and no one had bothered to stop her. I moved here 8 months ago after a bad year. My ex-wife and I split. I lost my apartment, and I burned through most of my savings covering legal fees and temporary housing. When I finally scraped together enough for a down payment on a small townhouse in Willow Bend, it felt like a win. A fresh start. A place where my daughter could visit on weekends and swim in the pool without me worrying about whether the complex was safe. But the HOA had other plans. The first warning sign came 2 weeks after I moved in. I got an email from the management portal saying my landscaping was out of compliance. I had not even unpacked my tools yet. The grass was mowed. The shrubs were trimmed. But according to the notice, my mailbox post needed repainting, and I had 7 days to fix it or face a $50 fine. I repainted the post that weekend, uploaded a photo to the portal, and assumed that was the end of it. It was not. A week later, I got another notice. This time, it was about my trash cans. They were visible from the street on a non-collection day, which violated Section 12 of the community guidelines. I moved the cans. I uploaded another photo. I paid more attention to the rules. But the notices kept coming. Parking violations, yard ornament violations, a complaint about my daughter leaving her bike on the driveway. Every time I fixed one thing, Tracy found something else. I started to realize that I was being targeted, but I did not know why. I kept my head down. I paid my dues. I followed the rules as best I could. And then, 3 days ago, the vendor payment issue started. The HOA was switching landscaping companies, and the new vendor needed a deposit by the end of the week. The board had approved the contract, but someone had to authorize the payment through the management portal, and Tracy was the one with access to the financial dashboard. The problem was that Tracy kept delaying the authorization, claiming she needed to review the contract one more time. The vendor was getting impatient. The old landscaping company had already stopped service, and the grass was starting to look shaggy in the common areas, which meant more complaints, which meant more pressure on everyone. I did not care about the landscaping drama. I just wanted to keep my head down and avoid trouble. But then Tracy started saying that the delay was my fault. The night before the closet incident, I had been at the clubhouse dropping off my daughter after her swim lesson. Tracy was in the office talking to the management receptionist, a woman named Angela, who had been there for years and seemed perpetually exhausted by the chaos. I overheard Tracy saying something about unauthorized access and portal uploads, and when I walked past the open door, she looked up and locked eyes with me. "Did you upload something to the portal today?" Tracy asked. "I uploaded a compliance photo this morning," I said, "for the mailbox post." Again, Angela looked uncomfortable. She glanced at her computer screen and frowned. "I do not see it here," she said. "I uploaded it," I said. "I have the confirmation email." Tracy leaned over Angela's shoulder and pointed at the screen. "See?" she said. "Nothing, which means either you did not upload it or you deleted it. Either way, that is a violation." "I did not delete anything," I said. "Then where is it?" Tracy asked. I did not have an answer. I pulled out my phone and opened the portal app, but the upload was gone. The confirmation email was still in my inbox, time-stamped from that morning, but the photo itself had vanished from the system. I showed Angela the email, and she clicked around on her screen for a minute, her frown deepening. "This is strange," Angela said quietly. "It looks like the file was uploaded and then removed about an hour later." "By who?" I asked. Angela did not answer. She just looked at Tracy, who smiled and said, "The system logs do not show user details for deletions. It is a known issue. We have been asking the vendor to fix it for months." That was when I realized something was very wrong. The upload had not vanished by accident. Someone had deleted it, and the only person with a motive to make me look non-compliant was standing right in front of me. I left the office without saying anything else. I went home, backed up every confirmation email I had, and started keeping a separate log of every interaction with the HOA. I did not know what Tracy was planning, but I knew I needed to cover myself. The next morning, she accused me of stealing from the clubhouse closet. Now, standing in my driveway an hour after the confrontation, I tried to make sense of what had just happened. Tracy had accused me of theft. She had threatened to suspend my fob. She had filed a report with management. And she had done it all in front of witnesses, making sure everyone in the neighborhood knew I was under investigation. I could not afford this. I was rebuilding my finances after a bad year, and I could not absorb bogus fees or legal trouble. If Tracy escalated this to the police, or if the HOA started piling on fines, I would be back where I started. Broke. Scrambling. Fighting just to stay afloat. I needed to clear my name, and I needed to do it fast. I started by going back to the portal. I logged in on my phone and checked the upload history for the past 2 weeks. Most of my compliance photos were still there, but 3 of them were missing, including the mailbox post photo from yesterday. The confirmation emails were in my inbox, but the files themselves were gone from the system. I took screenshots of everything and saved them to a cloud folder. Next, I called Angela at the management office. She answered on the 3rd ring, her voice tired and cautious. "Angela, it is me," I said, "from yesterday. I need to ask you something." "I cannot really talk right now," she said quietly. "Tracy is in the office. I just need to know if there is a way to see who deleted my uploads," I said. "You mentioned it was a known issue, but there has to be some kind of audit log, right?" "There is," Angela said, "but I do not have access to it. Only the board treasurer and the management company IT contact can pull those logs. And Tracy is the acting treasurer right now." "Of course she is," I said. "Look," Angela said, lowering her voice even more. "I am not supposed to say this, but you are not the first person she has done this to. Last year, there was a guy in Unit 47 who got hit with a bunch of violations, and then suddenly his portal account was locked out. He ended up hiring a lawyer and settling with the HOA for a refund, but it took months. Tracy backed off after that, but she never stopped. She just got smarter about it." "What do you mean smarter?" I asked. "She does not leave fingerprints anymore," Angela said. "She uses the system glitches as cover. She files complaints as a community safety issue, so it looks like she is just doing her job. And she always has a paper trail that makes her look like the victim. If you are going to fight this, you need to be really careful. She is good at this." I thanked Angela and hung up. My hands were shaking. I sat in my truck for a long time, staring at the USB drive I kept on my keychain. It was a small thing, just a backup drive I used for work files, but it had become a lifeline. Every time I uploaded something to the HOA portal, I saved a local copy to the drive. Every confirmation email, every photo, every compliance report. I had started doing it after the first few violations, back when I thought I was just being paranoid. Now I was glad I had. I plugged the drive into my phone and scrolled through the files. There were dozens of them, all time-stamped and organized by date. I had proof that I had uploaded the mailbox photo. I had proof that the file had been removed, and I had a confirmation email showing the exact time it had vanished. But that was not enough. Tracy had accused me of stealing physical items from the clubhouse closet. A USB drive full of portal screenshots was not going to clear me of that. I needed something else, something concrete, something that would prove I was nowhere near the closet when it was unlocked. I thought about the timeline Tracy had mentioned. She said I had been seen near the closet yesterday. But I had only been at the clubhouse for about 10 minutes, and I had spent the entire time at the pool entrance, waiting for my daughter. The pool attendant had checked us in. There were cameras at the pool gate. If I could get that footage, I could prove I never went near the closet. I called the management office again. This time, a different voice answered. A man. He sounded younger than Angela, less worn down. Willow Bend Management, how can I help you? I need to request security footage from the clubhouse cameras, I said. From yesterday afternoon. Between 4 and 4:30. There was a pause. Can I ask what this is regarding? I am being accused of theft, I said, and I need to prove I was not near the location in question. Another pause. Okay, he said slowly. You will need to submit a formal request in writing. Email it to the general management address, and we will forward it to the board for approval. How long does that take? I asked. Usually a week, he said. Sometimes longer if the board needs to meet. I do not have a week, I said. The accusation was filed today. I need that footage now. I understand, he said, and he actually sounded sympathetic. But I cannot release footage without board approval. It is a liability issue. If you want it faster, you will need to file a police report and have them request it directly. A police report. That was the last thing I wanted. If I involved the cops, this would escalate beyond HOA drama into something that could show up on background checks and affect my work. But if I did not get the footage, Tracy would control the narrative, and I would be stuck defending myself with nothing but my word. I made the decision. I called the non-emergency line for the Fort Worth Police Department and explained the situation. The dispatcher was polite but cautious. She took my information and said an officer would follow up within 24 hours. She gave me an incident number and told me to keep any evidence I had in a safe place. An incident number. That was something. Not much, but something. The next morning, Tracy escalated again. I was in my driveway loading tools into my truck when she appeared at the end of my walkway, holding a handheld radio and talking into it like she was coordinating a tactical operation. Unit 7, this is Architectural Committee, she said into the radio. Suspect is on site. Repeat, suspect is on site. I stared at her. There was no one on the other end of that radio. I could see the channel indicator light was off. She was performing. Tracy. What are you doing? I asked. She lowered the radio and smiled. I am documenting your movements, she said. For the investigation. What investigation? I asked. I filed a police report. If you have evidence, you need to give it to them, not play security guard. Her smile faded. I am authorized to enforce this, she said, and I have every right to monitor common areas and ensure community safety. If you have a problem with that, you can take it up with the board. She turned and walked toward the clubhouse, the radio still in her hand. I watched her go, my jaw clenched. 2 neighbors were standing near the mailbox cluster, pretending not to watch. They had seen the whole thing. and they had seen Tracy playing cop with a prop radio. I got in my truck and drove to the management office. Angela was at the front desk, looking more exhausted than usual. When she saw me, she winced. "She is going to suspend your fob today," Angela said quietly. "She submitted the request this morning. Unless you can provide proof that you did not take anything from the closet, your access will be revoked by end of business." "What proof?" I asked. I was not even near the closet. I was at the pool. Angela glanced at the hallway behind her, then leaned in closer. "I believe you," she said. "But Tracy has a printed packet. She brought it in this morning. It has photos, timestamps, a witness statement. She is building a case." "Who is the witness?" I asked. "She would not say," Angela said. "But she keeps referencing the key control clipboard. She says it shows you signed out a master key last week and never returned it." "I never signed out a key," I said. "I know," Angela said. "But the clipboard is in her office, and she will not let anyone see it. She says it is part of the investigation and needs to be preserved as evidence." I left the office and sat in my truck trying to think. Tracy had a clipboard that supposedly proved I had signed out a key. But I had never signed out a key, which meant either the clipboard was fake or someone had forged my signature. Either way, I needed to see it. And I needed to get it in front of someone who could verify it was a lie. I pulled out my phone and called the non-emergency line again. The same dispatcher answered. I gave her the incident number and explained the new developments. She said an officer would be assigned to the case and would contact me by the end of the day. It was not enough. I needed something faster, something that would stop Tracy before she could suspend my fob and lock me out of the clubhouse. I needed leverage. And then I remembered the dash cam. 3 weeks ago, I had installed a dash cam in my truck after a near-miss accident on the highway. The camera ran continuously whenever the truck was on, and it saved footage to a micro SD card that I had never bothered to check. If I had driven past the clubhouse on the day Tracy said I was near the closet, the camera might have captured the timestamp and the route. It would not prove I did not go inside, but it would prove I was not there long enough to break into anything. I popped the SD card out of the camera and plugged it into my phone. The footage was organized by date and time. I scrolled back to yesterday, 4 in the afternoon. There it was. A 2-minute clip of me pulling into the clubhouse parking lot, walking to the pool entrance, and then walking back to my truck. The timestamp was clear, 4:06 to 4:08. I had been there for 2 minutes. The closet was on the opposite side of the building. There was no way I could have broken into it, stolen anything, and returned to my truck in 2 minutes. The footage was not perfect, but it was something. I saved the clip to my cloud folder and drove back to the management office. Angela was still at the desk, but Tracy was there now, standing behind her with a printed packet in her hands. She looked up when I walked in and smiled. "Perfect timing," she said. "I was just about to submit the fob suspension." "I need to show you something first," I said. I pulled out my phone and opened the dash cam footage. Tracy held up a hand. "I do not need to see anything," she said. "I have already reviewed the evidence. You were seen near the clubhouse closet. You signed out a key. And the closet was found unlocked the next morning. The timeline is clear." "Then explain this," I said. And I played the footage on my phone, holding it up so Angela could see. 2 minutes. That is how long I was at the clubhouse. I dropped my daughter off at the pool and left. I did not go near the closet. Angela watched the footage, her eyes narrowing. Tracy glanced at the screen, then looked away. "That does not prove anything," Tracy said. You could have come back later. I was at work later, I said. I have GPS logs from my service truck. I can prove exactly where I was for the entire day. Tracy opened the printed packet and started reading from it out loud, her voice rising with each line. She was performing again, this time for Angela and anyone else who might be listening. Incident report, she read. Subject was observed loitering near restricted clubhouse areas on multiple occasions over the past 2 weeks. Subject has a history of non-compliance with community guidelines. Subject uploaded falsified documentation to the portal and then deleted evidence when questioned. Subject signed out a master key from the key control log on the 15th and failed to return it. On the morning of the 23rd, the clubhouse storage closet was found unlocked, and an inventory check revealed missing items, including a stack of blank violation forms. She looked up from the packet and stared at me. Do you deny any of this? All of it, I said. I never signed out a key. I never went near the closet. And I never deleted anything from the portal. Someone else did. Tracy laughed. Of course. Someone else. She looked at Angela. Do you see what I am dealing with? He is deflecting. He is making accusations without evidence. And he is wasting our time. Angela did not respond. She just looked at the dashcam footage on my phone, then at Tracy, then back at the footage. I want to see the key control clipboard, I said. That is not possible, Tracy said. It is evidence. It needs to be preserved. Then preserve it with the police, I said, because I have an incident number and an officer is going to follow up. If that clipboard proves I signed out a key, I am sure the police will want to see it. Tracy's face went red. She slammed the packet down on the desk. You do not get to dictate how this investigation proceeds, she said. I am authorized to enforce this, and I am suspending your fob today. You will not have access to the clubhouse, the pool, or any common areas until this is resolved. She turned to Angela. Process the suspension, she said. Now. Angela hesitated. I need board approval for that, she said quietly. I am giving you board approval, Tracy snapped. I am the acting treasurer and the architectural committee chair. Process it. Angela looked at me, then at Tracy, then at her computer screen. Her hands hovered over the keyboard, but she did not type anything. I think we should wait for the police to review the evidence first, Angela said. Tracy leaned over the desk, her voice dropping to a hiss. If you do not process that suspension right now, I will file a complaint with the management company. Do you understand me? Angela's jaw tightened. She typed something into her computer, but I could not see what. Tracy watched her for a moment, then straightened up and grabbed the packet. You have until end of business to provide proof that you did not steal those forms, Tracy said to me. Otherwise, your access is revoked, and I will be recommending the board pursue legal action for theft and vandalism. She walked out of the office, the whistle on her lanyard bouncing against her jacket. I stood there for a moment, staring at Angela. Did you suspend my fob? I asked. No, Angela said quietly. But you need to move fast. She is going to escalate this to the board tonight, and if she gets them on her side, I will not be able to stop it. I left the office and drove home. My hands were shaking. Tracy was escalating faster than I could respond, and she was using every tactic she had to corner me. The fake radio, the printed packet, the public shaming, the vendor pressure. She was stacking abuses, one after another, and I was running out of time to stop her. I needed help. I needed someone who knew the system better than I did. And I needed proof that Tracy was the one stealing. That night, I called a friend who worked in IT security. I explained the situation and asked if there was any way to recover deleted files from the HOA portal. He said it depended on how the portal was hosted and whether the management company kept server-level backups. He walked me through pulling the audit logs from my account and exporting them to a spreadsheet. The logs showed every action I had taken on the portal for the past 6 months, including uploads, deletions, and logins. But the logs did not show who had deleted my files. That data was stored on the management company server, and I did not have access to it. My friend suggested I file a formal records request with the management company and cite the Texas Property Code, which requires HOAs to provide access to certain documents within 10 business days. 10 days. I did not have 10 days. But I filed the request anyway, just to create a paper trail. The next morning, I got a call from the Fort Worth Police Department. An officer named Ramirez had been assigned to my case, and he wanted to meet at the clubhouse to take a statement and review the scene. I agreed and drove over immediately. Officer Ramirez was in his mid-30s, calm and professional. He walked around the clubhouse with me, taking notes and asking questions. I showed him the dash cam footage, the portal logs, and the confirmation emails. He listened carefully and wrote everything down. "Do you have any idea who might have taken the items from the closet?" he asked. "Yes," I said. "Tracy Benson. She is the one accusing me, and she is the only person with access to the portal logs and the key control clipboard. I think she has been stealing supplies and framing me to cover it up." Ramirez raised an eyebrow. "That is a serious accusation," he said. "Do you have any proof?" "Not yet," I said. "But I am working on it." Ramirez walked over to the storage closet and examined the lock. It was a standard keyed deadbolt, nothing fancy. He took a few photos with his phone and made more notes. "Who has keys to this closet?" he asked. "The management company," I said. "And the board members?" "Tracy is on the board." Ramirez nodded. "I am going to request the security footage from the management company," he said. "And I will follow up with them about the key control log. If someone is stealing and framing you, the footage should show it." "Thank you," I said. As we were talking, Tracy appeared on the walkway. She had her radio in one hand and a clipboard in the other. When she saw Officer Ramirez, she smiled and walked over. "Officer," she said, "I am so glad you are here. I am the one who filed the incident report. This man has been harassing me and making false accusations, and I need you to know that the HOA takes theft very seriously." Ramirez looked at her, his expression neutral. "Are you Tracy Benson?" "Yes," she said. "I am the Architectural Committee Chair and the Acting Treasurer. I am authorized to enforce this." Ramirez wrote something in his notepad. "Okay," he said. "I will need to see the key control log and any evidence you have related to the theft." "Of course," Tracy said. "I have it all documented." She held up the clipboard, but she did not hand it over. "This shows that he signed out a master key on the 15th and never returned it." "Can I see that?" Ramirez asked. Tracy hesitated. "It is part of an ongoing investigation," she said. "I need to preserve the chain of custody." Ramirez stared at her. "Ma'am, if you filed a police report, I need to see the evidence. Otherwise, I cannot move forward with the investigation." Tracy's smile faltered. She glanced at me, then at Ramirez, then back at the clipboard. "I will need to consult with the board first," she said. "That is fine," Ramirez said. "But until I see that log, I cannot confirm your accusation." He turned to me. "And until I review the security footage, I cannot confirm yours either. So we are going to wait for the evidence, and then we will go from there. Tracy opened her mouth to argue, but Ramirez cut her off. I will be in touch with both of you, he said. And I am requesting that neither of you take any further action related to this case until I have completed my investigation. That includes suspending access, filing additional complaints, or making public accusations. Understood? Tracy nodded stiffly. I nodded too. Ramirez walked back to his patrol car and drove off. Tracy stood there for a moment, staring at me. Then she turned and walked toward the office, the clipboard still in her hand. I watched her go, and for the first time since this whole thing started, I felt like I had some breathing room. Ramirez had bought me time. Not much, but enough to dig deeper. That afternoon, I went back to my IT friend and asked him to help me build a visual timeline. We used the portal logs, the dashcam footage, the confirmation emails, and the police incident number to create a tabbed document that showed every interaction I had with the HOA over the past month. We highlighted the dates when files were deleted, the times I was accused of being near the closet, and the gaps in Tracy's story. It was not a smoking gun, but it was a roadmap. And it was something I could show to anyone who questioned me. I also started digging into Tracy's history with the HOA. I pulled the meeting minutes from the association website and read through the past year of board decisions. What I found was alarming. Tracy had pushed through multiple vendor changes, all with minimal board oversight. She had reassigned key control responsibilities to herself. She had personally managed the clubhouse supply budget. And she had filed more violation complaints than the rest of the board combined. But the real red flag was in the meeting minutes from 6 months ago. A homeowner had raised a concern about missing petty cash from the clubhouse office. The board had voted to conduct an audit, but the audit never happened. Instead, Tracy had volunteered to review the petty cash log herself, and the issue was quietly dropped. I saved a copy of those minutes and added them to my timeline. The next morning, I got a call from Angela. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "You need to get over here," she said. "Now." "What is going on?" I asked. "Tracy is in the office with the board president," she said. "She is trying to force a vendor payment through the portal while standing here. She says it needs to be done today, and she is threatening to lock you out if I do not process it." "I will be there in 5 minutes," I said. I drove to the management office faster than I should have. When I walked in, Tracy was standing behind Angela's desk, pointing at the computer screen. The board president, a retired engineer named Greg, was sitting in a chair nearby, looking uncomfortable. Angela looked like she was about to cry. Tracy saw me and immediately straightened up. "You are not supposed to be here," she said. "Officer Ramirez said not to take further action," I said. "That includes locking me out." "This is not about you," Tracy snapped. "This is about a vendor payment that needs to be processed today. The landscaping company is threatening to walk, and we need to authorize the deposit." "Then authorize it," I said. "What does that have to do with me?" Tracy smiled. "It does not," she said. "But since you are here, I might as well inform you that your fob suspension goes into effect at 5 today, unless you can provide proof that you returned the master key." "I never had a master key," I said. "Then you will not mind if I show everyone this," Tracy said. She pulled the key control clipboard from her bag and held it up. "Right here. Your signature. The 15th. Master key number 3. Never returned." "Show me," I said. Tracy held the clipboard closer, but she still did not hand it over. I leaned in and looked at the line she was pointing to. The handwriting was sloppy, but it did look like my name. Except for one thing. The date was wrong. That says the 15th, I said. But I was out of town on the 15th. I was in Dallas for a service call. I have GPS logs that prove it. Tracy's smile faded. That is irrelevant, she said. No, it is not, I said. Because if I was not here on the 15th, I could not have signed that log. Which means someone forged my signature. Greg leaned forward in his chair. Tracy, can I see that clipboard? Tracy pulled it back. This is evidence, she said. I need to preserve it. Then give it to Officer Ramirez, Greg said. Because if someone forged a signature, that is a crime. Tracy looked at Greg, then at me, then at Angela. Her face was turning red. I am authorized to enforce this, she said, but her voice was shaking now. I pulled out my phone and opened the timeline document. I slid it across the desk so Angela, Greg, and the waiting room could see it at the same time. It showed the GPS logs from the 15th. It showed the dashcam footage from yesterday. It showed the portal deletion timestamps. And it showed the meeting minutes about the missing petty cash. Tracy tried to grab the phone, but Angela blocked her. Greg stood up and looked at the timeline, his eyes narrowing. Tracy, what is this about missing petty cash? Greg asked. That was resolved months ago, Tracy said quickly. It was not resolved, I said. It was buried. And I think Tracy has been stealing supplies and cash from the clubhouse, and she has been framing me to cover it up. Greg turned to Tracy. I need to see that clipboard, he said. Now. Tracy clutched the clipboard to her chest. You do not have the authority to demand that, she said. I am the board president, Greg said, and you are out of line. Hand it over. Tracy looked around the room, her eyes darting from face to face. Then she turned and walked toward the door. Greg followed her. Tracy, if you leave with that clipboard, I am calling the police, Greg said. Tracy stopped. She stood there for a moment, her back to us, her shoulders rising and falling. Then she turned around, walked back to the desk, and slammed the clipboard down. There, she said. Take it. Greg picked up the clipboard and flipped through the pages. His frown deepened. Angela leaned over to look, and her eyes went wide. Tracy, this log shows 3 master keys signed out on the same day, Greg said, all with the same handwriting. And none of them are returned. Those are different people, Tracy said. They are all the same handwriting, Greg said, and they are all dated after the keys were supposedly returned. He looked at me. This is not your signature, is it? No, I said. And I can prove it. I pulled out my phone and opened a photo of a work invoice I had signed 2 weeks ago. The handwriting was completely different. Greg looked at the invoice, then at the clipboard, then at Tracy. This is fraud, he said. Tracy's face went pale. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Then she grabbed her bag and turned toward the door again. I am leaving, she said, and I am filing a complaint with the management company about all of you. Before she could leave, the door opened and Officer Ramirez walked in. He looked at Tracy, then at Greg, then at me. Perfect timing, Ramirez said. I just reviewed the security footage from the clubhouse. And I think we need to talk. He pulled out his phone and played a video. It showed the clubhouse exterior walkway, timestamped 2 days ago, early morning. A figure in a black jacket and a gray bucket hat walked up to the storage closet, unlocked it with a key, and went inside. A few minutes later, the figure came out carrying a small tote bag and walked toward the parking lot. The figure was Tracy. Ramirez paused the video. The management company pulled this from their backup server, he said. And they also pulled the key control log. He looked at Tracy. You signed out a master key 6 weeks ago and never returned it. And according to the inventory check, a stack of blank violation forms is missing from the closet. He held up a sealed evidence bag with a few printed forms inside. These were found in your car during a consent search this morning. Tracy stared at the bag, her mouth opening and closing like a fish. Those are not mine, she said. They have your fingerprints on them, Ramirez said. And the forms match the ones reported missing. Greg looked at Tracy, his face hardening. You have been stealing from the HOA, he said. And you have been framing him. I was trying to protect the community, Tracy said, her voice rising. He was the one causing problems. He was the one violating the rules. I was just trying to. You were stealing, Greg said. And you were lying about it. He turned to Ramirez. What happens now? Ramirez looked at Tracy. You are being charged with theft and filing a false police report, he said. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. As Ramirez read Tracy her rights, she started crying. She tried to say something about how she was only a messenger, but Ramirez cut her off. Angela stood behind the desk, her arms crossed, watching silently. Greg shook his head and walked outside. I followed him out to the walkway. A small crowd had gathered, neighbors who had heard the commotion and come to see what was happening. A pool attendant named Marco was standing near the mailbox cluster, his arms crossed. Tracy does not run the gate, Marco said loudly. She never did. She just acted like she did. Greg turned to me. I owe you an apology, he said. Tracy had us all convinced that you were the problem, but it was her the whole time. I appreciate that, I said. What happens now? The board will meet tonight, Greg said. We are going to review every complaint she filed, every vendor change she pushed, and every financial decision she made. And we are going to refund any fees tied to false accusations. He paused. Including yours. I watched as Ramirez led Tracy to his patrol car. She was still crying, still trying to explain, but no one was listening anymore. The neighbors were whispering, pointing, taking photos. Marco was shaking his head. Angela had come outside and was standing next to Greg, looking relieved. As Tracy was put in the back of the patrol car, she looked at me one last time. Her face was red and streaked with tears. She mouthed something, but I could not hear it. Then Ramirez closed the door, and she was gone. Greg turned to me. I am also going to recommend that the board issue a formal demand for preservation of records, he said. Tracy has been deleting things from the portal for months, and we need to make sure she cannot destroy anything else. That was my line. A demand for preservation of records that freezes Karen's delete tricks. I had written it in an email to Greg 2 days ago, and he was using it now, verbatim. It felt like a small victory, but it was enough. The board met that night. I was not invited, but Greg called me afterward and gave me the update. Tracy had been removed from all board positions. She was banned from serving on any HOA committee for the next 5 years. She was issued a written warning for harassment behavior, and the board voted to refund every fee I had been charged over the past 8 months, including the mailbox post violation, the trash can violation, and the fabricated key control fine. The total refund was $850. It was not a fortune, but it was enough to cover the lawyer consultation I had been considering and the dash cam I had installed. And it felt like justice. A week later, I got a letter in the mail from the management company. It was a formal apology, signed by Greg and the rest of the board. It outlined the steps the HOA was taking to prevent future abuse, including a new policy requiring 2 board members to sign off on any violation complaint before it could be filed. It also included a copy of the refund check and a note saying that my access fob had been fully restored. I framed the letter and hung it in my garage, not because I was proud of the fight, but because I wanted to remember what it took to win. Tracy ended up pleading guilty to theft and filing a false police report. She was sentenced to community service and ordered to pay restitution to the HOA for the missing supplies and petty cash. The total was just over $3,000. She also lost her job as the architectural committee chair and moved out of Willow Bend 2 months later. The neighborhood is quieter now. The new board has relaxed some of the more aggressive enforcement policies, and the violation complaints have dropped by half. Angela is still at the management office, and she seems less exhausted. Marco still works at the pool, and he nods at me every time I drop my daughter off for swim lessons. And me? I am still fixing air conditioners. I am still rebuilding my finances. But I am not looking over my shoulder anymore. I know how to fight back now. I know how to document everything. I know how to demand preservation of records. And I know that sometimes the only way to win against a bully is to be smarter, faster, and more stubborn than they are. If there is one thing I learned from all this, it is that HOAs are only as strong as the people who run them. And if the people running them are corrupt, the only way to stop them is to shine a light on what they are doing, to gather proof, to stay calm, to force them to follow their own rules, and to never, ever back down. I appreciate you showing up today.